Hello and welcome back to this Christmas edition of That's Entertainment, the weekly show where we look at all the interesting entertainment news from last week, this week. As you can see in the background, we have the first bit of sun that has hit Denmark in the last 3 weeks, but we'll probably be going back into the cold, grey, miserable weather of winter here. Anyway, on with the news. Bob Chapek, Disney's CEO, made it very clear that streaming will be the studio's focus for 2021. But he did acknowledge the importance of cinema. In a quote, he said, "We had a $13 billion box office last year. That's not something to sneeze at. We built those franchises through the theatrical window. Consequently, no potential $1 billion box office blockbusters will be debuting on the small screen. However, it's worth noting that Disney Plus is now up to 86.8 million subscribers. That's an 18% increase since October. Quite incredible numbers. Also, the monthly subscription fee will be rising by $1 and roughly the equivalent amount overseas as well. And Disney has committed a further $16 billion to be spent on producing content for the Disney Plus platform by 2024. So that's a hefty production budget that they're throwing behind this as well. This will lead to the production of 100 plus titles, including roughly 10 Marvel series, 10 Star Wars series, new films originally planned for theatrical release, films like Robert Zemeckis' Pinocchio and Peter Pan and Wendy, Disenchanted, and Sister Act 3. Disney will also be launching a service called Star as a branded tile on Disney Plus in Europe, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, and Singapore in February. Essentially, it's a global Hulu with a range of non-Disney, non-family content, including Fox films and TV shows. Disney's goal, obviously, is to try and reach for as many subscribers as it possibly can in its competition against Netflix and Amazon Prime. And so they're looking to generate somewhere in the region of 300 to 350 million subscribers across all their platforms by 2024. Interestingly enough, that is also the year that Disney Plus is estimated to go into profit. So some massive expenditures in the market. Clearly some bold goals are being set here as well, but it's obvious that the direction for the studios now with streaming. Theatrical is an important component, but as we can see from these announcements, that streaming is really going to be front and center of Disney's strategy over the next few years. Criticisms for the Warner Bros move with their 21 titles continues. The Directors Guild of America has called the decision unacceptable. According to Patrick Whitesell, executive chairman of the leading talent agency Endeavor, the decision is a blatant attempt to self-deal and use our clients' work to build their HBO Max streaming service. The simultaneous release on HBO Max will cannibalize the domestic box office and torpedo the traditional waterfall of economics that make movies profitable in the near and the long term for the studio and for our clients. So this is a relevant point because essentially one of the things that the theatrical launch did was it set the benchmark of the film's value across the windows of its release. As the film moves into home entertainment and being available for various TV networks, a premiere title that did well in box office will be earning more or be more valuable than something that didn't. And without these measures in place, where will the economics go and where will the value of measurement go on these titles in the future? It'll be very difficult to measure. We'll need to come up with new formulas for metrics. And currently, Disney Plus, HBO Max, and all these other services are not providing any information about how the films are actually performing on their services. So maybe some kind of Nielsen index or Nielsen score needs to be created within the market. AMC, the US's biggest chain, cautioned that it could face bankruptcy in 2021 without a guaranteed stream of films to play. Quote from the market is, "Nor can we know with certainty the impact of the Warner Bros. Announcement or any similar announcements regarding the release of movie titles concurrently to the home video or streaming markets." So cinemas are kind of in a limbo with this decision. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out in the market. One side is that it's good that films are going to be released back into a flexible release pattern that takes advantage of the films at the cinemas that will be open during the pandemic. The other side is quite scary. What happens with the audience in terms of having that choice between the couch and their flat screen TV or the cinema? My opinion, I think it could be good. A lot will remain to be seen, but we need something back in the market quickly, because just having local product is not enough to keep audiences engaged. So this is backed up by looking into the potential of 2021. Right now, we're in a situation where no major studio releases are scheduled until the end of February. There's no guarantee that cinemas will be open or be able to reopen or stay open as the lockdown moves in and out of its various stages in different markets. And with the rollout of the vaccine, a lot depends on how this is uptaken by the general population and how the vaccinations are actually handed out. Obviously, we're going to be going through the most vulnerable parts of the population first. It's not going to be done in weeks. It's probably going to take quite a long time to get this deployed. And while rather worryingly, a new strain of COVID-19 was identified last week in the UK. So what would that mean for the people that have been vaccinated? Are they going to be susceptible to this virus strain? And of course, we have no metrics within the market to look at how audiences are going to interact with the option of going to the cinema or enjoying the film in the comfort of their own living room. This is untested territory, and obviously not a lot of data is going to be released by the studios, as we saw with Mulan. I think it's going to be a lot of conjecture, but we'll be monitoring it and we'll be reporting on it weekly, as we've done in the past. One of the key questions we obviously face from the clients that we've spoken to is that how quickly would the VOD market be saturated? If I look at myself personally, I have a Spotify account, the YouTube Premium service, I have an HBO Nordic account, a Netflix account, and an Amazon Prime account. We have Disney Plus, Apple, potentially new platforms launched through Viaplay here in Scandinavia. There's UC, Blockbuster. It's the market will become saturated quite quickly with services. And when we've looked at the US consumer data, what we found, which was interesting, is your average consumer only has 3 subscriptions per month. It'll be very interesting to see how the platforms vie for consumer attention going forwards. And obviously digital marketing is a very, very important component to that. UX and user interface design is also extremely important. There was a study that was produced earlier this year where they looked at the comparison between viewing hours between Apple and Disney Plus. And what they found was the viewing hours were comparable. So despite Disney having a wider variety of great classic content, Apple did very well because Apple makes great products. Now, this could be an area that the tech giant could compete on. And the other big growing cause concern is if a piece of content is ring-fenced within a service they don't have access to or they're unwilling to pay for, this is going to spike piracy, as we keep saying. Anyway, we will be back after Christmas. We plan to be back in the office on January 3rd. As part of our wrap-up, we'll be promoting the Future of Film conference that we did several weeks ago, where we launched a great panel of interesting speakers and did a 20-minute breakdown on the market as well. I would advise you to jump onto that URL and go and check out that content. It was a great discussion. And we'll be diving into some webinars around the SVOD market, starting off with Scandinavia at the end of January and moving into the Americas in February, March. So lots going on, lots to look forward to, lots of interesting updates. But in the meantime, have a wonderful Christmas. It's been a hell of a year, and I'm sure we could all do with taking a nice break and enjoying our time with our families. Till then, have a wonderful week.